Has the art of being a great cutman been lost? I'm asking just because we've noticed a few fights lately, a few big fights being stopped due to cuts. For example, Tim Tszyu, Philip Hergovich. Um, and the other thing is, we noticed that in Tim Tszyu's corner, for sure, um, the cut person didn't know or wasn't able to stop the cut in, and even the commentators pointed out that they weren't using the right tools to do that. Now, the thing is, for a cut man, he's the one person in your corner that the fighter hopes doesn't have to do much work, right? You want everybody else you're paying to work as hard as they can. You don't want your cut man to work as hard as he can or she can. And typically, a fighter will pay a cut person 2% of a purse if it's a big fight. If it's a small fight, you should pay him $40, something like that. But regardless, the thing is, in a crucial moment, that cut man is worth well more than 2% if it's a big fight, because sometimes the outcome of the fight depends on whether or not they can close that cut. If the fight gets stopped due to cuts and the fighter's behind on the scorecard and we're past the 6th round, then that fighter loses, unfortunately. Even if you feel, well, gosh, if he had a few more rounds, he or she had a few more rounds to work, they could have pulled off a W or a KO because they're a big puncher, like Tim Tszyu. So the art of being a good cutman includes not just reviving the fighter in the corner. It also includes bringing down the swelling, the hematomas around the eye and on the forehead. I've noticed that in MMA fights, they don't seem to know how to use that end swell effectively in the corner to bring down that swelling. And that's unfortunate, because once a fighter's eye starts to swell shut, obviously their vision's impaired, and cut or no cut, if the eye swells shut, the doctor can say, hey, you can't keep fighting. Not only that, it's obviously incredibly dangerous for the fighter to go out there with an eye that's where they don't have full vision. They can't see the punches coming from that side of their head. Their opponent knows that full well. They're going to take advantage of that. The end swell is that it's typically metal. It's either sort of rectangular with a little handle or round with a little handle. And you'll see cutman kind of ironing out the swollen areas on a fighter's face. And there is an art to using that end swell, because they also have to grab the back of the fighter's head so they can apply enough pressure. It's not a pleasant procedure. It hurts. It hurts like heck. But in order for the cutman to bring that swelling down, they got to iron basically the fluid out of that area that's starting to swell up. It's not just like, oh, let me just sort of brush this ice over the area. They really have to apply pressure, and it sucks for the fighter, and it's the only way to bring the swelling down on the face. Another thing cutman has to do, of course, is if the nose starts bleeding, they've got to be able to stop that between rounds. And there's certain substances the cutman's allowed to use in the corner. They're allowed to use thrombin, they're allowed to use adrenaline, they're allowed to use Avatine. So the cutman needs to know when to use that to stop, or how to use that to stop the nosebleed. Most crucially, of course, are the cuts that can occur. Typically, they'll occur, say, on the eyebrow or just under the eyebrow. They occur where the skin is very thin and the bone underneath the skin is kind of sharp. So all the way around the eye. But of course, just simply impact, forehead against forehead, you can open up a cut anywhere on the forehead. And of course, the cut can also occur on the scalp underneath the hair, which is a lot trickier to close. depending on how close, how much hair the person has, and how much you could see that cut in order to get at it to close it. But the key thing here is there's different ways to close cuts on different parts of the face. You can't just take a Q-tip with a glob of Vaseline and one of those 3 substances and hold it over the cut and kind of just hold it there for 10 seconds and hope the cut's gonna close. That's not gonna work. You have to know how to apply the right type of pressure in the right way to get the cut to seal. And that probably only happens, I would say, over experience. I'm sure some knowledge can get passed down verbally, but the 2 best cutmen I know passed away a while ago. That was Al Gavin out of New York City and Joe Souza out of I think it was Austin, Texas, from Texas in any case. And I was fortunate enough to have both of those gentlemen work my corners on a couple of occasions, and it does make a huge difference to have a great cutman in your corner, because it's not just about having a cut or not having a cut. A good cutman knows how to dovetail with any trainer, even if they don't know them, even if they've never worked with them before, but they know how to stay in their lane and just dovetail with the trainer to support the fighter, not only during that break on the stool, but also during the course of the fight. They can yell out along with the trainer. There's supposed to be only one voice in the corner, which should be the trainer, but in the heat of the moment, if the cutman can just yell something that, again, dovetails with whatever the trainer's saying, then that's always wonderful to have that type of positive energy in your corner. And finally, the other role of a great cutman is to just help revive the fighter between rounds, whether there's any bruising or cutting or not. Fighter still needs to be revived in that short amount of time. So that might involve an ice pack on the back of the neck, top of the head, lower back. The assist should be the person that's helping the trainer with cleaning out the mouthpiece and passing the water bottle over. But really, a great cutman, the greatest cutmen are also boxing trainers. They could be able to teach a fighter how to fight, and they understand how a fight unfolds from round to round, and they know what to say and when to say it. So tell me what you guys think as far as the art of being a cutman goes. Do you know any great cutmen? Have you worked with any great cutmen? Tell us a few stories about who you've worked with in the comments. Thank you for listening.